Screw imposter syndrome. You are worthy, period. You belong, period. You can overcome imposter syndrome to feel valuable in any group, any crowd, and it all begins with boundaries. You have to develop boundaries in your mind as well as with other people. And boundaries is not something that we're necessarily taught how to do. So we have to learn how to have these boundaries. I've had a long battle with imposter syndrome, to be honest with you. And I have forced myself to learn these tools to extinguish the imposter syndrome thoughts when they come up. And they still come up sometimes, but now I have the tools. So if you've had imposter syndrome in the past, it's not like learning the tools is just going to make the thoughts completely disappear, but you can, like many things that we do for developing our own strength, you develop the tools, right? So first I want to share with you what imposter syndrome is exactly. So it's defined as doubting your abilities and feeling like a fraud. Just think about that for a moment. If you've ever doubted your abilities and felt like a fraud. Interestingly, it's disproportionate. Like it seems to attack high achieving people more. I personally think the reason for that is because high achieving people have had to push themselves into uncomfortable situations to grow. And so, yeah, you're going to be faced with those feelings of imposter syndrome when you are pushing past your limits, right? And to give you an image, I work really well with images. And when I can see an image of something, it helps me. But I want you to think of the imposter syndrome as a little fire. It's a little fire that pops up in your brain to tell you something, right? And what it's usually telling you is that you're not as valuable as others. You don't fit in here. You're imposing on this group, right? It happens a lot in group situations. But when you learn these tools to protect yourself and your self-esteem, then you can build more success in your life because you have the boundary to go into any situation. And so, yeah, imposter syndrome is a horrible experience. It's like the self attacking the self, but you can overcome it. You can definitely overcome it. And so, like I said, it has everything to do with boundaries. You have to develop the boundaries in your own mind and with other people. And that's where we're going to dig in today. So a boundary is really just deciding what's allowed in, what's not allowed in, right? And protecting what is allowed in and what's not. So the first thing that you have to do, well, the first thing that I found to do is developing a boundary around my positive self-belief, right? And this has to become a habit because otherwise your brain can take you and just like this fire can just grow. So you have to make it a habit to have the good self-esteem and the good self-belief so that when this fire erupts, you're like, boom, I got it, all right? So you have to make a habit of telling yourself positive things about yourself, which sounds cheesy, but it's so true. Like you're the one person that you can control your actions, and you're the one person that can always be there for yourself. And so when you take charge of what's going on in your brain, you can begin to cultivate your own confidence. So you can say to yourself, I'm worthy, I belong. And just make a habit of noticing and acknowledging to yourself what's right about you. So it's really about like stopping the war on yourself, stopping the self-attack, and becoming habitual about, I'm noticing what happened there with myself. And by accomplishments, I don't just mean like the outer accomplishments, because really outer accomplishments are a result of the inner work that we've done. So, and also we can have huge inner accomplishments that may or may not show up in the outer world. It may just show up in how we're experiencing ourselves and feeling about ourselves and experiencing life. And so it's both inner and outer accomplishments. But get in the habit of noticing. Oh, wow, like I used to feel stressed out about that, and now I don't. That's an inner accomplishment. Or, oh, wow, 5 years ago, I was making this income, and now I'm making this. That's an accomplishment. So get in the habit of really acknowledging your own accomplishments, as well as your just natural good qualities. And no one's going to take that responsibility to push you up in your self-esteem like that as much as you can. And it's honestly, it's no one's job but yours. It is your job to take care of your self-esteem. Once you've really mastered having a habit, like you do all the positive things to have positive self-belief, then you're gonna be faced with challenges. You're gonna be faced with times where something goes wrong or doubt pops in, and little negatives are gonna pop off in your brain, right? And so that's when you have to develop a boundary around what your brain is telling you, when your brain is telling you negatives. So when your brain fires off, you're not good enough, or you don't fit in here, instead of getting defensive, just learn to slow down. When you slow down, you can be like mama to yourself. You'd be like if a little child came up to you crying, right? You can be curious, like, what's going on here? What are you sad about? That's what you would say to the little child. You can have that same compassion with yourself and that same curiosity, and just ask yourself, what are you afraid of right now? Because usually those negatives are popping up to protect you. And so there's usually some fear going on. And then you can just hold yourself in self-compassion. And it takes so much awareness to notice that these negatives are happening in your brain. But when you notice, you can shift into compassion. And when you shift into compassion, your body can relax. And when your body relaxes, you can feel your self-worth and stop rejecting yourself. So you're just you're coming back into the bubble of self-acceptance, right? So it's really like just stopping attacking yourself, stopping the self-attack. And if you feel a self-attack coming on in a stressful situation, which I know it's very hard at times to enter new groups, especially when those groups are very established, right? It's very hard to have that awareness and to keep yourself from doing a negative self-attack. But it's that awareness can change everything. So just developing that awareness and that compassion. So you can do all that and really start to master what's going on in your brain with the positives and the negatives, and learning how to do good things for yourself in that arena. But of course, the ultimate challenge is when you take your skills to groups, like I was talking about, right? And this is where you have to have a boundary around other people. I was in a situation recently where I had the feeling that someone was trying to intimidate me. And it was really interesting to, first of all, have the awareness of what they were doing. And yes, people will try to manipulate you, people will try to dominate over you, people will try to be condescending. That's not going away. That's a human behavior that exists. Those are all human behaviors that exist. So I was watching this person be condescending, and I felt this magical thing come over me. I just felt my shoulder kind of tilt out, like I was shaking that person off and shaking their energy off and coming back into myself. I could just physically feel myself owning myself. I could feel my shoulders going back. I could feel my body standing up straighter. I could feel my own self-worth really not leaving me. And that's the boundary, right? So, you know, I make a point to, first of all, gravitate towards groups that are kind. I can feel it when someone's not gonna, I can feel it when a group is not friendly or when a group is condescending. So it's different for every person, but use your senses. Everything is energy, y'all. Everything is energetic. So you can use your psychic brain, your intuition, your feeling, sensing, hearing, seeing, tasting, use all your senses, right? Just like bring them all to the table, and you can sense when it's not a good group. So if you sense that, just don't go back. Like, that's boundary number one. Like, bye. I learned to say that a lot last year. That was my word last year. Bye. So that was the first thing, was just like gravitate towards groups that are kind, because you know what? You're worth so much. Only groups that are kind deserve to be in your company. And this goes for networking groups, parties that you may attend, friendship groups, families, family groups, family gatherings, right? So that's the first thing. But I want to remind you that if you don't want others to dominate over you, then you have to disallow it. You have to stop allowing it. You're the one in control of what comes into you, what you allow into you. You're the gatekeeper. You're the energetic gatekeeper. So you're the energetic gatekeeper of your world, right? And so you can't be a victim here. You can't be a victim that just lets anybody and everybody in. And someone could even say something to put you down, or they could be trying to prove to you that you don't belong to their group, which in theory, we know these are insecure actions. They're based on insecurity. But in the moment, it feels like attack. It feels like someone is winning against you. Someone is dominating over you. And so it's the easy path is to go into victimization. I'm not good enough. He's dominant. She's dominant. They're better. I'm worse. Right? So you have to get in the habit of knocking off the energy, just knocking off their energy off of you. Don't even let it in if you can. And just say, that's their opinion. That's her opinion. That's his opinion. All right, whatever. And then return to the positive beliefs. I'm worthy. I belong. And that's really important to do, to come back to that positive, right? Because now what you're doing, you're coming back to being an advocate for yourself. And I say this to even my husband and my kids and good friends. And this sounds so selfish. It's like, I'm here for my life experience. That's my job. My job is to live my life. It's not that I don't do kind things for my loved ones. I do. But I know, aside from small children that you're raising, when we're in the adult realm and the adult arena, right? My only job is to take care of myself. And of course, if we're in a people helping position in our careers, when we're in that space of coaching someone or something like that, then yes, absolutely. We're sharing our energy with that person. We're giving to that person, but that doesn't deplete the truth, which is I'm still here for me, and it's still my experience that I'm responsible for. And so One thing that I have seen that sometimes people will do to dominate is, and I've seen this at networking events, I've seen this at parties, I've seen this a lot of places, but it's like a certain kind of bragging that's not balanced bragging. There is a type of bragging that's positive. You know, when you're sharing something positive that you experience, or you're sharing an inner win or an outer win, you're sharing something that you did that was amazing. And that's just like sharing your life with someone, right? But this is a different kind of bragging. This is a bragging that has the purpose of domination. So if you think about like competition, because yes, certain people are very competitive. It's like they want to be up higher than you. And one way to get up higher is to over brag. Another way is to just push you down. If they push you down, then they're automatically higher than you, right? And so it's creating this system of comparison, which our culture, our society thrives on that, right? Even sports, like someone wins, someone loses. I'm always thinking like, oh my gosh, watching the basketball game, like they all won, they're all amazing. My husband and I watch that show Alone, and it's like people trying to make it out in the wilderness, and only the one person that stays out in the wilderness and survives the longest, they're the only one that wins the $500,000, which I think that's ridiculous. I think all of them should get something. But anyway, so when you're in this situation where you have this certain type of bragging, or there's other forms of domination too, but when this is happening to you, it may come in many forms. They may be bragging ad nauseum about their achievements and just like going on and on without ever noticing your energy, and without ever giving you a chance to enter the conversation. It may come in the form of wealth dropping, right? Details, bragging about their wealth. Or it may even come in the direct form of being condescending, you know, of saying just a little thing negative about you. It's usually coupled with something that disguises it, so that you can't be like, oh my God, what a bitch. You know, it's kind of hidden under that layer, but it's still condescending. But any of those things that happen, there's more, but those are just a few examples. But when any of those things happen to you in a social situation, you don't have to play their game. I want you to be able to use your laser vision, use your third eye that can see below the surface, and just see what's actually happening, and acknowledge in your brain what's actually happening. And then acknowledge to yourself, I don't have to play this ridiculous game. I don't have to prove myself to this person. And then just bring up your wall, your impenetrable boundary, and just notice it going all around you. Notice it going all around you and protecting you. And now if someone says something condescending or mean, it can't enter you. You're protected. That's the beauty of boundaries, right? These things that I'm teaching you today, they're so important in your career, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you work at a job. But your progress in life is your business, and it's your responsibility to learn the strategies that you choose. I've shared some with you today. These are strategies I use, but it is absolutely your responsibility to protect yourself in all situations. So to kind of summarize, I want you to be able to just keep saying to yourself, I don't have to prove myself to anyone. I accept myself and my journey, and I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And just keep saying those things, and over time, you will feel protected, you will feel confident, and you will be able to just release energy that doesn't support you.